thank you for tuning in to the Wild West of software acquisition. I am Ivy Nelson, the Instructional Technology Manager for the Belton School District, which is on the south side of Kansas City, Missouri. In this session, we will discuss the risks involved in using online software and digital resources, the type of policy your organization can develop to protect against online risks, and the procedures to put in place to align those policies to acquisition. First off, let's define the term software acquisition. I'll use the word software interchangeably for websites, apps, and other digital or online resources. An acquisition would be the method by which you acquire the software, like downloading or installing an app and purchasing a subscription to an online tool. With the huge increase in use of online tools for learning that has occurred in the last couple of years, we need to do everything we can to protect students online. And that is true now. You know, this quote is very old, but not very old, but several years old, but it's true now probably more than ever. So what risks are there in using online software? There are four main areas that I look at when I vet online tools for my district. So the first is data security. So that refers to the security of what data is collected, how it is used and stored. If it's stored outside of the US, my district automatically denies the use of the product. FERPA, which is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, that regulates what type of information must be kept confidential. COPA, which is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, that protects students online and specifically students under the age of 13. And then social aspects. So that includes any access to social media or other social parts of a software like a public discussion board or a public gallery. So the first step in avoiding risk is to identify the potential risks. In terms of software acquisition, this is often when teachers and staff use online tools that haven't been approved or vetted to assess risks, or having a laissez-faire type approach to curriculum where teachers are using any content that they want when there isn't district-wide approved content or district-provided resources. So now let's look at policy. What type of policy does your organization use to protect from online risks? What policies do you have for software and online resource requests and approvals? Every district has various legal regulations at the local, state, and federal level to follow. So COPA, FERPA, and then CIPA, which is the Children's Internet Privacy Act. And districts will also have other specific district policies. So two examples would be Missouri School Board Association policies. So EHB, specifically in the state of Missouri, that deals with technology use, and EHBC that addresses data governance and privacy. So if your district doesn't currently have a data governance policy, you should begin the process to create one today. It's not something that is required of districts. However, it is a very helpful tool that outlines everything that a district does with their data. And then it outlines and it will help you prepare for you know, the circumstance of a data breach or something like that, where you could be, you know, you could have a lot of harm and then you could have a lot of blowback for your district. So that is something that if your district does not currently have a data governance policy, you can talk to your leadership about getting the ball rolling on that. So data governance policy first brings the right people to the table for the data governance team. It outlines the purpose of the team and defines the scope of team duties, as well as the scope of the entire policy. The policy should discuss the data lifecycle and describe what occurs in each phase of the data lifecycle, from identifying need to destruction of data. The usage and dissemination section of the policy really gets into the details of all the logistics and operations of district data, from rules for password security to email security, and even details about other departments like finance and human resources. The last major section of the data governance policy should address critical incident response. So what to do in a crisis, like I mentioned. It outlines actions to take when a critical incident like a data breach or even a natural disaster might occur. So you might have a tornado that destroys your data center, and those types of natural disasters like floods and things like that can also pose risks to your data as well. So we will finish by discussing the procedures. So what procedures can you put in place to align policy to acquisition, right? Because we want to streamline things as much as possible. So back in March 2020, when schools nationwide closed because of the COVID-19 pandemic, districts were scrambling to take learning online. Teachers were desperate for digital content. So many companies began offering free access to online tools, and soon a very long spreadsheet curated by a well-meaning educator began being shared far and wide on social media, listing all of the software being offered now for free for teachers whose schools had closed. So I had a teacher share that list with me, excited for all of the resources that someone had curated. And I vetted it for my district, and over 70% of the sites, apps, and digital resources listed on that spreadsheet did not meet the criteria that my district uses to approve software as safe, secure, and compliant. So that is a very scary thing to me that, there are companies out there who will take every opportunity to, try to basically take advantage of educators who don't know any better, right? And so it's something that we try to work against in our district, and we vet things, and we only allow software that is safe and compliant. And then we also have to do a better job at educating our teachers and staff on why we vet the way we do, and why some things are safe and some things are not safe, even when they are marketed as an educational tool. So one thing I've been very thankful for in this wild west of software acquisition is my district's curriculum approval process. So it unites our school improvement or curriculum department and our technology department. So here is a screenshot from our data governance policy when we are working with curriculum approvals. So it kind of goes through, it's a flow chart showing about resources. And this is specifically for staff use. So it asks the question, is this only used by teachers? And then if no, then please refer to the student digital resource flow chart. So that's a separate one that is specifically for if a student would be using the resource, because there are other things we have to consider, because some of our students are not over the age of 13 and not over the age of 18, whereas all of our staff using a digital resource would be adult, the age of adults and being able to sign contracts and different things like that. And so COPA wouldn't apply to adult teachers, right? So this is the student digital resource flow chart from our district data governance policy. And the first step teachers can take when wanting to use a new resource. So it asks them questions about all of the aspects that require vetting from the technology department, and directs the staff member to request an addition to the curriculum, or if they have found a resource that's easily determined to be safe, free, etc., the flow chart will identify it as not needing additional approval. So essentially, if it is just a website, an educational website that does not require a login, it does not have any sort of, anything where you're putting in a name or username or email or anything like that, then it is not going to require additional approval. So this curriculum approval process can work independently of the technology department, but when there's software involved, it's a cohesive two-department process. So the curriculum department approves alignment with district instructional goals, and then the tech department vets the software for safety and security measures. So if the technology approves or denies the request, the curriculum department notifies the requester if it was approved, shares additional information needed like budget codes for purchasing, and then the technology department generates the purchase orders and orders the software resource, as well as adds any free resources to our self-service or Clever for teacher and student access. So we have a curriculum approval process. Sometimes there are technology aspects to it, sometimes there are not. So if it does have a technology aspect, it goes to tech for vetting on all of those sticking points from the slide that had the cactus on it. And then we contact the curriculum department for approval. And then they would, if it's a a paid app or a paid resource or subscription, they would then collect budget codes and information for purchasing. And then if it's, let's say it's a paid app, I would do the purchasing and then I would scope it to whatever teacher or whatever grade level is using the resource. So we use Jamf for our self-service, and then Clever. So integration with Clever for different single sign-on for different programs and things like that. So then we take care of that scoping side of it as well. So software acquisition can be the Wild West. If you have any questions or you'd like more information about what my district does, please reach out. I will open up for any questions right now, and I will go ahead and stop the recording. But if you have any questions, feel free to unmute and we can talk more.